Saturday night edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. Let's ride, everybody. Second consecutive night. On night 5 of the college basketball season, we get another top 5 showdown. And I'm going to open it up right now, folks. The Gonzaga Bulldogs head into this evening riding a 52-game winning streak at home at the Kennel, which will be rocking tonight. The students have been camped out. They are awaiting this matchup. It's not often Gonzaga gets an opponent of this caliber on their home court. With the Zags, you have the phenomenon that is Chet Holmgren. You have the National Player of the Year candidate in Drew Timme. That dynamic, fantastic. And coming into their building tonight, it is the hot coaching commodity in college basketball. Whatever he touches turns to gold. Chris Beard and the Texas Longhorns, they're a team that has basically 7 starters. You're talking about double figures averages across the board, a deep team, a kid in Marcus Carr who transfers into that program, and will he have the night? Will he take center stage? It's that size of Gonzaga. It's that guard play of Texas. How does this all mesh? Zags, Horns, let's ride deep into the night. If you could handle last night, you can handle tonight. And we are in for a fun Saturday evening, a rare game at the Kennel that you can really be pumped up for. And I'm excited, and I know Rob Doster's excited. That's how we tip off After Dark tonight. Good evening, Mr. Doster.
Hey, Fanta, you know I'm always ready to go when you get me in that mood, buddy. So, it's going to be a fun night. Another top 5 battle. And another time where we're going to have to do a little bit of pre-show here instead of doing a post-game show and a reaction show, simply because it's a situation where these TV networks, they don't seem to be all that excited about these top 5 matchups. But you know what, Fanta? Here at the Field of 68, we get fired up about college basketball. We are all college basketball all the time. Before we talk about this game tonight, though, can we talk about what we watched last night? Because that was, man, Villanova, UCLA, overtime, 2 a.m., Pauley Pavilion is rocking, All-Americans all over the floor. That was, I don't know how many games are going to be better than that this season. I really don't. That might be one of the 5 best games that we're going to see in college basketball this year. It lived up to the hype. That is for sure.
Terrific basketball game, Rob. And what a rally by UCLA. They just don't go away. They do not go away. Mick Cronin can coach his ass off, and did last night. You know, UCLA is in a position where they're down 60-50 in this basketball game with 9 minutes and change on the clock. And what they proceeded to put together was a run of defense, was a run that I thought Tiger Campbell, I know you did too, played a terrific role. Of course, Johnny Juzang in the second half got going. It was only a matter of time. This was not his best night. The offense for defense, an interesting layer. But I'll tell you what, man, Jaime Jaquez, every time you watch him play, it's like he's better than what he was before. And he's such a constant to this team. He does every little thing right, and he's good for the explosive play as well. I thought UCLA's defense early in the second half was having some major issues. This was a great example of in-game coaching adjustments and a point guard in Campbell who met a first-team All-American in Gillespie and said, I'm going to try to take over this game with my defense. And I thought Tiger Campbell did just that.
Yeah, I really thought that he was the difference maker in this game. You know, we were talking about it a little bit off air. And the question was, how did UCLA make this comeback? And to me, it was Tiger Campbell. He hit those 2 threes when UCLA was down 10. He started getting up into Colin Gillespie and really making it difficult for Gillespie to make something happen. I thought that he had a couple of those little runners. You know, Tiger is so good at kind of getting into lane and finding that little turnaround that somehow happens to go in from about 8 feet away. I thought that he really changed the dynamic of this basketball game over the course of the last 9 minutes. I also thought, you know, you got to give credit to Jules Bernard, who I thought got much more physical against Justin Moore. You know what? It was really interesting down the stretch because I felt like in the first half, Villanova's reliance on trying to post up with their guards against bigger, more physical UCLA wings was something that was not working for them. I think it was part of the reason why they were down 9 early. But early on in the second half, that's what they were using. We talked about this last night. The way that Villanova runs their offense is they are trying to get that first closeout created, right? Whether it's from a guard dribbling into a post-up, whether it is from Gillespie or Justin Moore running off of a ball screen, but they want to get in the paint, force you to help, kick it out, and then they attack a closeout or hit a three, drive, kick, draw, help, attack, closeout, hit a three. And it's a cycle like that. So it's a lot of principles, a lot of concepts that they have, and it's not a lot of plays. So I thought it was really interesting down the stretch. They went back to trying to get their guards to dribble into post-ups, and that was really effective for them. That when they made the run, when they pushed that lead to 10, that's what was going on there. They were able to force UCLA into rotation, force UCLA to help, kick it out for open threes, and they built that lead. And I will tell you this, Fanta, I don't know if UCLA makes that comeback if that game is played at a normal time. When that game ended, it was 2:00 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. Villanova's on the East Coast. I don't know if that game is played on a neutral court, if it's played earlier in the evening, if UCLA is able to make that comeback. I thought a lot of you could see the legs for Villanova go away. Their jumpers ended up being short. They weren't able to get the stops that they expected. So I will tell you this. I spent a lot of time in the preseason talking about how I thought Villanova was one of the most overrated teams in college basketball. And look, they lost that game last night, but I got to take the L on that one. I mean, they're legit. Jermaine Samuels, I think, has taken a step forward. Justin Moore has taken a step forward. And if you can get the kind of impact they got from Brandon Slater last night, look, he's going to have to make more threes. And I think Eric Dixon is going to have to be a little bit more effective. I'll give him a pass going up against Miles Johnson, but that's a very, very good Villanova team. I'm gonna take the L on that one now.
Well, I think that Brandon Slater's confidence level is certainly in a much better place, and he's been trying to get molded for this role. Frankly, Villanova needs him. The fact is, Villanova only scored 4 bench points last night behind, of course, their starting 5. This is a team that doesn't necessarily have a lot of depth in place right now. Caleb Daniels struggled last night coming in off the bench, and Chris Archdiacono, Trey Patterson, we barely saw them out on the floor. So how Jay Wright molds some sort of depth going forward is going to be interesting. Last night wasn't the game to try to figure out what you have off the bench. It was a nip-and-tuck war. You're going to have to count on your starting 5. And, yeah, it tipped off at 11:30 on the East Coast. Actually past that, who knows what happens. Villanova wins this game probably on a neutral floor or on their home court, of course, because there's not many times that a Hall of Fame coach in Jay Wright loses a double-digit lead with less than 10 minutes on the clock. But I'm with you on Eric Dixon, but I think, Rob, that Eric Dixon is a huge development despite the fact that he wasn't necessarily efficient. The fact is, your biggest question, and by the way, what are you drinking tonight?
The champagne of beers.
Oh, that is just living the high life, my friend. Eric Dixon, for me,
well, I got a PBR for when that one's done too. So just in case, you're gonna need it. We got a long one in front of us.
You're on a roll. 11 points and 9 rebounds last night for Dixon. I know he wasn't the most efficient, but here's the thing. This is encouraging from a Villanova perspective, considering if you had asked in the preseason what's going on at the 5 position, you would have probably said after evaluating it, oh man, this could be a significant weakness for Villanova on paper. Dixon has evolved. Him and Slater help out Samuels in the length column. I agree with you on Samuels. I think Jermaine Samuels might be the most underrated player in college basketball because the kid does every single little thing. He defends. He gets in the passing lanes. For Villanova, there's no such thing as a moral win when you have the standards they have. But I think there's a reason for both these programs to be encouraged. And by the way, this is why you schedule this home and home. Both programs won last night. Both programs won in a way.
Yeah, and let's talk about UCLA a little bit because they won this game, and it feels like our conversation has been Villanova so far. Tiger Campbell, difference maker. Jules Bernard made a ton of tough shots, and I think we really saw kind of Final Four UCLA in the last 9 minutes in overtime, making tough twos, making tough pull-ups, thriving in isolation. But I'll tell you what, I really do think Johnny Juzang is going to be the one player in college basketball this season that can completely drive me insane. I do not like watching him play. I cannot stand it. I thought that he was outside. Like he had a run where he hit like 8 straight shots.
He did.
And he caught fire and he scored 25 points. And that's part of the reason why that's a major reason why UCLA wins this game. I think you can make the argument that he might have been a net negative for UCLA last night because of the issues he had defensively, because of the dumb turnovers he had. There was one play where he comes down. I think he had hit 6 in a row at this point. He comes down. He throws the laziest pass I've ever seen. Ball's on the floor. Fake hustle instead of getting back on defense leads to a wide open layup for Villanova. Comes down to the other end of the floor, and they call a play for him on the next possession, and he dribbles into like an 18-foot pull-up and somehow decides to make that. So that, to me, that right there sums up what Johnny Juzang is as a player for these Bruins. He drives me crazy, but UCLA needs him. But to me, I really do think that Jaime Jaquez is the best player on that team. I thought he came up with some monster second chance points. I thought that he was a little bit exposed on the defensive end, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he got that bad charge call in the late in the first half. Gave him 2 fouls, and he looked a little skittish. He didn't want to get into foul trouble, but I thought he got some huge rebounds. It was his ability. What UCLA did offensively was they just ran ball screens until they got Eric Dixon on either Tiger Campbell, Johnny Juzang, or Jaime Jaquez, and then they just attacked him. That's what their entire game plan was. We're going to wait until we get the matchup that we want. We're going to attack that matchup, and that's how we're going to win this game. And it worked for him. Worked for him down the stretch. I thought Jaime Jaquez was terrific.
Yeah, I thought Jaime Jaquez was terrific as well. I tell you, early putback dunk off a Juzang miss was kind of a statement play early on in the game. He gets into a rhythm. Look, the fact is, Juzang had 25 points. He took 24 shots to get there. So I understand what you're saying about it being maddening. Although UCLA, for them to get back to the Final Four, they're going to need Johnny to be what Johnny is. It's kind of interesting because it's almost like sometimes Jaquez's attention to detail is the perfect mix mash with Juzang's sort of explosive and last night at times implosive nature. I think Jules Bernard is a real X factor to this team. Like, for me, Bernard makes some insanely difficult shots. He made one last night to get the game knotted up. It was a tough look. Rob, he doesn't really turn the ball over. He knows his role on this team. And you got to have
guys like that. You need guys
like that. Yeah, absolutely. Him and Campbell.
It's not just him. It's not just he. Yeah, it's not just him either, Fanta. Jalen Clark came in last night and put together some really, really big defensive possessions when they needed it. I thought David Singleton in the first half, he knocked down those 2 threes. He didn't really do much outside of that. But if you're getting a couple threes from him and 15 minutes where his presence on the floor creates space for people, that matters. I thought that Peyton Watson, I was really excited to see him play. That game was a little too high level for him at the moment. He'll get there. I think he'll get there. But that was a little bit too much for him in the moment last night.
Here's my question to you before we keep the wheels rolling on Field of 68 After Dark. Rob, how did you react when UCLA hired Mick Cronin compared to where you are now about this whole situation?
It didn't make any sense. I was like, how do you end up? So they fired Ben Howland, right? The reason why we're in this situation is because they hired Ben Howland. He turned into like a physical, defensive-minded head coach. People in LA didn't like that. It didn't help that he was kind of a grating personality that did not fit with some of the personalities and the egos in the kind of Los Angeles basketball ecosystem. But I mean, the biggest issue was he was a defensive-minded coach that wanted to guard, wanted to defend, wanted to play slow, wanted to play physical, wanted to basically do all the things that Mick Cronin did when he was at Cincinnati. So you go out, you swing and a miss on like 17 different coaches, and you end up on Mick Cronin. I was like, there's no way this is going to work. And you know what? It has, because I think for 2 reasons. One, Mick has really embraced what has made the guys on his team really good, right? Like he's just going to he's letting Johnny Juzang go out there and rock. You know, I don't think Mick Cronin at Cincinnati would have been able to survive some of the dumb plays that Juzang made last night. But now with this group and this roster, he's just kind of rolling with it. This is what it's going to have to be. I think that he's kind of embraced this idea that, you know, he's got guys that can create one-on-one. So let's just find the ways to get the mismatches where they can take advantage of that. I think he's running more. But at the same time, he's instilled a culture of toughness and a culture of winning. And he's gotten helped with, look, I love Tiger Campbell. I love everything that he brings for this group. I love the presence. We talk about how steadying and the leadership and all that stuff for Colin Gillespie. I mean, Tiger Campbell's that guy too, right? And he got the win and he made a Final Four last night. So you got to give him all the credit in the world.
Looks like we got our guest tonight.
We do have our guest. Joining us tonight on the Field of 68 After Dark, Fanta, is a guy from your home state. We have Jeff Boals on the bus, Ohio University head coach, after going into Cleveland State and knocking off the Vikings. Boals, just so you know, Fanta's a Cleveland guy, so I think I don't know how well he kind of feels about this right now. It might be a little bit of a sensitive subject.
Not at all. Congrats on the big W, Jeff, and I can only imagine the folks in Athens, they're having a beer for the Bobcats.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Great road win for our guys. Great crowd. Northeast Ohio is a big University alumni, and it was just an awesome win for our guys.
So I'm just kind of curious, after losing the guy Jason Preston like you lost last year, I don't know how many people expected you guys to kind of still be in that mix for the MAC title, still kind of be in that mix as one of the best kind of mid-major programs in the country. What is your expectation for what this group can be this season?
Yeah, I think if you really look at it, Rob, I mean, there probably aren't too many mid-major guys that lose a point guard to the NBA and, not have a drop-off. And obviously Jason Preston is one of the best players ever to play at Ohio. But Mark Sears has been phenomenal, and feel very fortunate that he was in our program, and he's had a great start to the year so far.
Jeff, as much as we know about Sears, I find it so interesting the unique path of Jason Carter, who started at Ohio, transfers to Xavier, and now comes back to complete his college career with the Bobcats. What can you say about his journey back to Athens and the unique nature of this situation for him to come home?
Yeah, he was a great addition for us. Obviously, his familiarity, but he's a great person, great player. And, not a lot of people know that our starting center, Dwight Wilson, is hurt right now and not playing. So having Jason Carter come back has been really big, playing big minutes for us. And probably the best thing is he's playing very confident right now.
So Miami of Ohio won at Georgia Tech earlier this season. You guys knocked off Belmont, who is going to end up being, at the very least, in the mix for the tournament when it all is said and done. Akron gave Ohio State all they could handle. We saw Buffalo give Michigan all they can handle. The MAC is really, really good this season. What does this conference have to do to be able to be a multi-bid league? And are you already kind of thinking about those things at this point in the year?
Well, I think, the games that Miami won and, Akron played Ohio State, those are the games you need to win. And I think not often do we get the shot to do that. We tried to schedule every Big Ten school this year. No one would schedule us. Every ACC team, no one would play us. We're playing two, SEC opponents. LSU and Kentucky both agreed to play us. So, those games are hard to get, but when you do play them, you got to find a way to win them.
Jeff, originally from Northeast Ohio, west side of Cleveland, and when I was doing college visits, of course, went down to the Scripps School down in Athens. And, man, what happens in Athens, especially this time of night, stays in Athens. Tell us right now, what's the campus haunt or the neighborhood place where right now those Bobcat fans, if you could open up a tab just for one round of drinks, where's the party happening down there? Where isn't it happening, I guess?
I was going to say, where isn't it happening? Court Street's probably hopping right now. I think there's a great buzz and energy and excitement about our program. We had a great crowd against Belmont. We play Robert Morris Monday night. Students have been awesome. And, last year when we beat Virginia, the pictures from Court Street were just absolutely insane. And, I'm a little biased. I played at OU, went to OU, and that's Court Street. I was on there a couple times.
Well, listen, Coach, we appreciate you coming on. We plan on having you on here quite a bit this season. I think Ohio is going to end up being pretty good. And I promise you, we'll make sure that you're only on here the nights when you don't have to talk to Jeff Goodman. You keep winning, and we'll make sure that happens.
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Jeff. Safe drive back down to Athens. We appreciate the time.
Okay, take care.
Jeff Boals. Man, tell you what, Rob, Athens is a party town, baby. Their night's just getting started. You're talking 3, 4 a.m. down there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be a 3, 4 a.m. night for us too. We got this Texas Gonzaga game coming up. Should we get into it? Let's dive into it. Hey, look, I'm going to open it up with this, Fanta.
Yep.
Texas, now officially a basketball school.
Yes. Well, 100%.
Yeah.
1,000%, because Texas just lost to a basketball school in football, that being Kansas, or they're about to lose anyways. They were down by 21. Look, for me, Chris Beard going to Austin was as compelling of an offseason storyline in this sport as any. I think that the Longhorns, come March, they're going to be the team that you do not want to see in your region, because they have the full capabilities of making a Final Four and winning the national championship. However, I think going into tonight, this is a difficult matchup for them anytime, but particularly at the Kennel against the length of Gonzaga. Rob, I'm not really sure how Texas handles Gonzaga's size. I know you have what will be the likely game plan for the Horns, but let's talk about, how does Texas overcome that 7.5 point spread here this evening? What can they do if they're going to have a shot to win this basketball game?
So I think that it's going to come down to what they can do defensively, right? You don't want to try to get into a shootout with Gonzaga playing in that gym with the talent they have on that roster, with Drew Timme, with Chet Holmgren, with Andrew Nembhard, with Rozier Ball, with all of those dudes. So it's going to come down to what Texas can do defensively. And here's my take on this. I think that this is a pretty bad matchup for Texas long term. I'm assuming that Texas is going to end up still playing that kind of no middle defense that Chris Beard made popular when he was at Texas Tech. I know people that have watched practices, and that's what they're still doing. And essentially what that no middle defense does is it keeps the ball on one side of the floor. And the way that it works is you'll see it tonight. When the ball is on one wing, you'll see guys playing defense with their back to the opposite sideline. They're making it so you can only go one direction. You're not going to reverse the ball once it's on one side of the floor. What happens is that allows the defense to anticipate where the help is going to need to be. So they pre-help to get to the charge spot, and they pre-help the helper by cutting off the pass. If you drive, and they cut off the pass to the baseline. What you need are big guards that are going to be able to drive under control, get to a spot on the baseline, and be able to throw a pass over the defense to the opposite 45, to the opposite wing, to guys that can make a shot. Then you're going to get a closeout, then you're going to get rotation, and you need skilled players to be able to take advantage of that. That's what Gonzaga has on their roster. Andrew Nembhard is that. Rozier Bolton, I don't know if he's going to be someone you necessarily want making that pass, but he can certainly take advantage of it once the ball is in his hands. Nolan Hickman's another big kind of point guard type. Chet Holmgren is a guy that can space the floor out to the three and space the floor at the rim. So I think that this is a particularly bad matchup for Texas's defense. I also think that what we saw, that Baylor runs the same kind of no middle defense. And one of the things that Steve Prohm was on here the other day talking about is that is about as difficult to prepare for as anything in college basketball, because not a lot of teams run it. And the teams that run it the best, it's very difficult to deal with. It's kind of the same thing as trying to prepare for that Syracuse zone. If you haven't seen it all season long, trying to prepare for that on 1 day rest is just not an easy thing to do. Not only has Gonzaga seen it already with what happened in the Final Four with Baylor, so they kind of know what to expect, but they've had all offseason to get ready for this game. So I understand the logic of saying, okay, look, I am going to take it's 7 points at Bet Rivers right now. I'm going to take the 7 points. I'm going to jump on the Chris Beard bandwagon. I think our producer Greg Waddell, the way that he phrased it was, you could give me the cast of Friends and Chris Beard and 7 points, and I'm taking the points. I get that logic, but to me, it's just, I'm probably at this point I think that same logic leads you to the under. So I would much rather take under. I believe it's 151. So do we have Jeff Goodman in the room here? Did he show up? Did he make it?
Yeah, let's go to the kennel and see if we've got him here. Jeffrey Goodman is on the ground at Gonzaga. Let's bring him in here now. He was underneath the bleachers earlier. This is a flattering angle of Mr. Goodman. Jeff, can you hear us? Looks like they're in the anthem.
Oh, they are in the anthem, so he cannot talk. All right. So we're over to on getting Jeff Goodman on the show. Jeffrey, thanks for being here. See you later. Greg, get rid of this guy.
I'll tell you what, that building looks absolutely, that is amazing.
Oh,
the amount of effort that we tried to put into that, and the 15-second camo that happened as a result of the anthem playing, it's just that it's worth a highlight sip, if not a whole bottle. I think going back to your point, like for me, Texas is going to have to get a big night from the combination of Timme Allen, Christian Bishop, Trey Mitchell. These guys have got to hold up. I think you're in a position where you need Courtney Ramey and Andrew Jones to combine for 10 3-pointers. If you're going to win this game, these guys are going to have to be knocking down perimeter shots. I also think that one player that, to me, the first game for Gonzaga, it stood out to me, his efficiency level, the fact he had a double-double. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's got length. Julian Strother's been waiting for this type of a position. You know, you come into Gonzaga, you have to kind of sit back if you're in his position. I think Strother's really an X factor for them, and will be in this game tonight, because you brought up Bolden, and that when he catches the ball, maybe he's not the one making that pass, but I think Bolden and Strother are two beneficiaries off of Nembhard's ability to make that pass for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. So look for him in this game. I think that it's going to be fascinating just to see, like, can Texas's size really keep up with Timme? I don't think so. I just don't think that Texas has the defensive capabilities to match up with Holmgren and Timme, especially with the fact that it's not like there's a large sample size of being able to prepare for what these guys are exactly doing. So I fully expect, like, I don't think the lights are too bright for Holmgren. I think we're going to see Holmgren shine tonight, and I think it's a bad matchup for the Horns.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same position as you. I do think that it is worth noting that Texas is as talented as any team that you're going to find in college basketball, maybe outside of Gonzaga and outside of UCLA. I don't know if there's necessarily a ton of pros on this roster, but they go 8-9 deep with guys that were really good, high-level players at high major programs. Like Timme Allen averaged 17 at Utah, and he played 22 minutes in their opener, right? It's not like they have Devin Askew was a 5-star point guard that started for Kentucky last season. He's playing 15 minutes off the bench for Texas. They're very good. They're very deep. They're versatile. They can give you different looks. They can give you different lineups. I'm in on Texas long term. I just think that this matchup, this moment, this game, it's going to be tough, man. People don't really appreciate just how insane the kennel can get in a big game like this. And if you're looking at the videos that are Jeff Goodman and that Matt Norlander are posting and that are tweeting, it's a vibe. It's a vibe in Spokane right now.
Okay, so what's your official pick on this game?
Gonzaga.
I got Gonzaga as well.
I think if you're going to make me choose, I'm going to take Gonzaga, laying the points. But I do think that the better bet for me is going to be the under here. I think that at the very least, Texas is going to be able to control the pace and control the tempo. And I think that they will be able to limit the number of possessions and do enough defensively that Gonzaga isn't able to kind of get out the way that we necessarily are accustomed to seeing them play. So that's where I'm at with it.
You know, as you were making your pick, and I'm in agreement with you, I was looking across the game log again to make sure that we don't forget anybody. 20 points, 9 rebounds, 10 to 13 from the field today. He plays in stores. I'm sure Terrence Oglesby's watching.
Yeah, if T.O. is watching right now, I want to ask him if someone gets 20 and 9 and shoots 10 for 13 from the floor, like that is – I'm not really a math guy. I'm not really a numbers guy. But I do generally think that that's pretty good, right? And I also do think that when you average 20 points a game, I think averaging 20 points a game is pretty good. And Greg, producer Greg Waddell, I don't know if you know this, but I do think that if you shoot 19 for 24 from the floor over 2 games like that, I mean, that's like 77% from the floor, which is, I mean, that's good, right, Finn? Isn't shooting 77% from the floor pretty good for a big guy? Not bad, right? Solid. Adama Sanogo. Right? Can I get some love for Adama Sanogo? I just need love for it. That's good. That's good. All right.
Greg's too busy watching Texas football just crumble the pieces. Hey, shout out to a couple things here as we wrap up. How about look, Georgetown, young team. This should not happen to them, but Dartmouth. First time Dartmouth has a power conference win since 1989. Congratulations to the Big Green. They pull it off, and they did it by 9. They really commanded much of the game. Dartmouth and the Ivy League, Rob, has gotten off to a statement start. What, Princeton over South Carolina? Now you have Dartmouth. Tomorrow, Yale faces Seton Hall. Yale looks like
you're burying the lead. Yale already got their biggest win of the season in the opener.
Yeah,
they knocked off Liberty League powerhouse Vassar College in the first round or in the first game of the season. They're not going to get a better win than that. Shout out to Ryan Mee and the Brewers.
Good for the Ivy League. Good for the Ivy League, and what a start! You know, it's funny, Rob. This was ironic. This was just interesting to me. Talking with Dartmouth after the game. Because of all their 5th and 6th year players, they have 20 players on their team.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's great. All these Ivy League teams have enormous rosters. But look, Fanta, we're about to have tip-off. We led you guys as far as we can go. I need to go watch this game. I'm ready.
Crack open the PBR, baby.